everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Dense Pixels. I'm your host, Brad, joined by my co-host, Micah.
Hey.
We may or may not get Terrence later. We'll see. Terrence was a little bit busy, so he might join us part of the way through. If he does, that'd be awesome.
Terrence is on CP time, apparently.
I don't even know what that means.
Good.
So you said before we started you were kind of out of it. I'm also a little bit out of it because I was at the beach this past weekend and did the absolute most I could to like disengage myself.
Yeah.
Which didn't work entirely well, but I did better for me than I usually do. So we're going to go with it. We decided to go with what do you people want this week? Because that just made sense. It's a slow news week anyway. Our top story is an interesting conversation, I think. And then we have some other stuff to go over. Since Mike has been playing more Persona and I've been just playing more Diablo 3, basically, we don't really have anything new to talk about. Terrence was going to talk about Path of Exile, but we'll have to wait till next week for that. I was interested to hear about that, though.
Yeah.
Because it's basically Diablo clone. But we'll get back to him. Don't forget, if you have not signed up for premium content, you need to remedy that immediately. Just $5 a month or $50 for the whole year. You do that by going to densepixels.com/premium. And what do you get with that? You get access to all of our premium shows, which include Look Forward, our political podcast, which if you want a sense of now last week's episode was more ridiculous than the usual episode of Look Forward. But you can listen to last week's entire episode for free in the Look Forward podcast feed.
I suggest you do that because it is pretty damn funny.
It was pretty damn funny because the week before last in politics was an outrageous week. So with outrageous stories. You also get the Airing of Grievances, a show featuring Micah and Jay talking about life experiences through the guise of Seinfeld, which is always highly entertaining. You get No Time to Bleed, our monthly action movie podcast. And you get the Men with the Golden Tongue, starting the crew that you are listening to right now. And the next episode of that is also quite hotly anticipated.
Yeah. It's so hotly anticipated that I'm going to need a minute before I watch this so that we can give it to you people because, man, it might be. I'm looking forward with the next episode of The Men with the Golden Tongues. I'm looking forward to just hearing from Brad because I think this is the one that you hate the most.
Yes, and this also sits behind all of the fake Bond movies as well. Like I would watch Never Say Never Again every day of the week and twice on Sunday before I would consider watching Die Another Day, which is the next movie on the Men with the Golden Tongues, which is going to be recorded sometime in August, hopefully. And also Dense Pixels bonus round, which once we get a recording schedule for that, will be coming to you also on the premium channel. So again, densepixels.com/premium. Sign up today and hear what you've been missing. Because there's over 200 hours. It's probably over 250 hours of content at this point, for Christ's sake, that you can get access to. And also, if you've not been to our YouTube channel, go to youtube.com/densepixels. Do us a favor, hit the subscribe button while you're there if you've not subscribed yet. And if you're listening to this podcast, we also release it on our YouTube channel every single week in video form as well. So if you prefer to consume it that way and look at our handsome visage that you see right here, then you can check it out there as well. So that's it for plugs. New releases this week. It's actually a pretty decent digital week. Not a very big physical release week. So on the physical side, Mega Man Legacy Collection 2. This is, I believe, Mega Man 7 through 10 compiled on one disc, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Cinemora EX, which is a side-scrolling game, is also releasing. I'm pretty sure this game has been available for digital for some time. It's now getting a physical release and like a premium edition. There are three very notable games coming out on the digital side of things this week. First of all, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. This is the new game from Ninja Theory that's releasing on PS4.
What do you think of this game? Do you think it'll be playable? No, not playable. Do you think it'll be worth checking out? Because I'm seeing it and I'm like, it looks pretty, but Ninja Theory is very competent. But Ninja Theory kind of up its own ass with a lot of their ideas.
I think that if you are a fan of their games, and if you don't know what Ninja Theory's done previously, we're talking Enslaved, We're talking, didn't they do
Heavenly Sword?
Heavenly Sword, right? Did they do the
They did DMC.
Yes, thank you. That's the one that was escaping me.
Yeah.
So if you like their games, I do think it'll be fine. The reason that it's available digitally is because they're actually self-publishing it. They are the ones publishing the game. It's available for $30, so I would imagine that you'll probably get a shorter experience than you would get at other games normally.
And because they're self-publishing it, like, I get it, right? I get it. But at the same time, like, the cynic in me is like, oh, well, maybe they shopped it around and nobody wanted it. So
I don't think that was the case. I think there was a couple months ago in Game Informer, there was a feature article written about this game, and it seems like that they found that to be the best course of action instead, in lieu of shopping it around, and that way they'd have a little bit more freedom and creative control over what they wanted to do.
Okay.
So we'll see. Like I said, I mean, it certainly probably wouldn't be a bad idea to wait for reviews to come out if you're not sure if you would like it, but it at least bears keeping an eye on because they are a pretty notable game studio.
Have you what's your experience with their games? Do you like them? Have you played any of them?
I have played Heavenly Sword. I played about half of that, and I played some of Enslaved. They're not my cup of tea. They're definitely not. So this is not a game that I will be checking out personally. But I'd imagine that there's some people out there that would be into it.
Ninja Theory for me is a definition of style over substance. You know, like Heavenly Sword looks really pretty, but it's not the best thing to play in the world. It's not like fun. Enslaved has a interesting setting, but you're just kind of running around. There's nothing remarkable about it. Like, there's no hook about it. And DMC is just, you know, some white guy's version of Devil May Cry. And it is a, you know, competent game. All their games are competent, but there's nothing that like strikes me as like, whoa, I gotta play the newest Ninja Theory game. You know what I mean?
You know what I am interested to see though, how this how it does, just because I could see if this is markedly successful, you could see a lot of those other like mid-tier developers thinking about this possible route of distribution.
Yeah.
Instead of going through a traditional publisher. So we'll see. Like I said, it could be interesting. And that one's a PS4 exclusive as far as I know. I don't think it's coming out on Xbox One, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah, I don't think so. I see it's available on Steam, PS4.
Okay, there you go. The first episode of the Batman Enemy Within Telltale series releases this week as well. Looks like that the new series is going to feature the Riddler as the main antagonist. And it looks like they're actually taking the Riddler and advancing him to his natural, like, modern day evolution, which is basically that of like being Jigsaw, essentially.
I don't know why the Batman movies haven't done this, right? Like, you have this character who's based in like puzzles and come and find me, right? And if you don't, I'll murder somebody. Like, I don't know. It just seems, like you said, the natural evolution for what this goofball character should be. I never finished the first series from Telltale.
How far did you get?
Just the first episode.
Oh, really? Oh, geez. You should probably play it.
All right. Is it like, does it, I didn't think it was bad, but
it is the most unique portrayal of Batman that I can think of.
I remember there's a lot of Bruce in it, and I think they were trying to get inside Bruce's head, because everybody knows Batman, right? So they're telling a Bruce Wayne story with Batman in it. Is that the case?
There is a lot of Bruce Wayne. There are also some points in the first game where you could actually you actually have the choice of how to tackle a specific situation. So like there's a part where you have to meet with the mayor or something. And you can either go as Bruce Wayne to try to, smooth talk him and negotiate as a businessman, or you can go as Batman to try to intimidate him. And what you choose has, far-reaching effects on the story. And there's another part later in the game where you can do the same thing as well.
Okay. All right. I'll have to put Persona down for a minute and for a couple of hours.
I mean, you could blow through the rest of the 5 episodes within it would take you 8 hours. Like if you had a long day where your wife was either out of town or doing something, you could do it in one day if you really wanted to.
All right.
So it's good. It's worth it. And like I said, this one looks interesting as well. And then I could have sworn that this was either in beta a couple weeks ago. I don't know if this is the full release or what, because I only saw it pop up on the PlayStation Store and I didn't see it pop up on the Xbox Store. But this is Lawbreakers is apparently coming out. This is the multiplayer only like hero shooting game made by whatever studio Cliff Bleszinski is working for nowadays, which is probably the biggest reason it's notable. What is it called?
Boss Key Productions.
There you go. So if you're looking for another hero shooter, Lawbreakers will be available. It's only $30 because it's only multiplayer. I guess they didn't see the need to charge full price for a multiplayer only game. I've heard mixed things. I've heard good things about it. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna be dethroning Overwatch anytime soon. But if that is your cup of tea, then you might dig it. And then so again, go ahead.
Is the hero shooter like the new like first person shooter?
I mean,
like the new military shooter.
When Overwatch sells, now Overwatch didn't invent the hero shooter, obviously.
No, certainly not.
But when Overwatch is as successful as it's been, with over at least 15 million copies sold, I feel like so far, or maybe a little less than that. But yeah, I mean that's the next big fad, right? That everyone's going to try to latch onto. We've seen it all the time before.
It's just funny to me, man. Like people are in, no matter what industry you're in, people are, they're all the same, right? This guy did something. This guy took a chance and it worked. So now we got to scramble and try to do it, right? I don't know.
I mean, like I said, there'll probably be 2 or 3 that stick. Overwatch will be the one that that's the healthiest because it was first. Right. And oftentimes, even if something better comes along, it always helps to be first rather than the best, as we've seen many times before. So there you go.
What
was that?
WWE.
I mean, hey, true. Also, so.
But yeah, all right. I was just curious, like, because I see a lot of hero shooters now.
Oh yeah.
And like there's one called Fortnite or something like that just came out. And
that's cooperative though. That's not a
it's not a competitive.
No, that's not a deathmatch situation.
Oh, okay. All right. Anyway.
But yeah, that'll be the next big thing. And then a couple release date announcements. Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2 are both going to find their way to the Nintendo Switch sometime in 2017. And that's we talked about last week. Capcom was like, "Oh, we're going to make more games for the Switch." I'm like, "No, you're going to remake more games for the Switch is what you're going to do." And less than a week later, here we go.
Yeah.
And the Horizon Zero Dawn expansion, the Frozen Wilds, is coming out November 7th for PS4.
You ever finished that?
No, I'm like I have like 3 chapters left in the main story too. Like I'm right there, and I just can't get the gumption to just do it.
Yeah, I didn't finish it. I want to finish it. But I went and bought Persona, and that is really, I'm really invested in that.
It's hard, man, and I knew what would happen because I even said it on the show. Like when Mass Effect came out, I was gonna put Horizon down. Like if I was of strong will and discipline, I would have waited until I finished Horizon before picking up Mass Effect because I knew once I put it down, it was going to be nearly impossible to pick back up, and that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah.
Anyway. So. We'll see. So that's it for new releases. Let me pass it over to myself for headlines real quick. The first one is a sad story. This is actually this broke right after we recorded last week. So the lead designer for Anthem and longtime BioWare employee Corey Gasper tragically passed away last Monday night suddenly. No cause of death was given. Basically, everyone found out about it through a few industry folks like Jeff Keighley and some other guys who tweeted about it because they found out pretty quickly. It's just sad news. He'd been with BioWare since 2007. He'd worked on Mass Effects 2 and 3, Dragon Age Origins. He also consulted on Battlefront, Mass Effect Andromeda, and he got finally promoted to lead designer for Anthem. and then unfortunately passed away all of a sudden. So condolences to Corey Gasper's family and to everyone at BioWare affected by this.
It's very sad, man. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Yep. So next up, so something that I'm actually kind of surprised just happened is that the WNBA is finally going to be in a video game. And I use the term finally very loosely because I don't really know who is requesting this, but the WNBA is coming to NBA Live 18 this year. We
briefly spoke on this on one of the many instances where Terrence was not paying attention to the show that he's on the Nerdpocalypse, and he started laughing, and we got into a discussion, and Jay hates female athletes, and I think this is very good for the WNBA. I think it's incredible for the WNBA, and I'm not like trying to, white knight this or some shit, right? Like the WNBA needs exposure. Like they do. They need as much exposure as they possibly can. And being put in a video game, especially like being put in live, while it is not the same as having your own standalone video game, it is exposure that they need. They need exposure so that they don't have to wear jerseys with advertisements on them.
Oh, that's coming to the pros as well, my friend.
Really?
Oh yeah, that's just a situation of there's money to be made, so they're going to make that money.
God damn it!
Now for the WNBA, it is a case of necessity.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, come on.
No, but I mean, other sports leagues, like just on that front, not to get off too big of a tangent there, other sports leagues are looking at the fact that pro soccer has basically been doing this for the last 20 years, and it has affected them in no negative way, shape, or form. So other sports are like, oh, we could probably do this too if we want to.
God damn it.
So yeah, that's just their space to advertise, buddy. That's all that is. But yeah, so while you can be optimistic, I can be both happy for fans of the WNBA. I've resisted the urge to to make that joke, but also extremely cynical, because if anything, this is a very intelligent move on the part of EA to give them access to a fan base, no matter how big or small that fan base may be, that 2K does not have. So if you, and in all seriousness, so like if you are a young girl who watches the WNBA and wants to see those stars represented in a video game, you're probably going to buy NBA Live 18.
Yeah.
Because this is the first opportunity that you've had to do that.
Yep.
And that's a good thing for them. It's a good thing for EA. And look, EA has already done this, right? Like they put female soccer players in FIFA, starting with FIFA 16. Mm-hmm. Now, the problem is, though, and the reason why I can be cynical is because much like in FIFA 16 and FIFA 17, all the WNBA players and teams are only going to be available in offline play now and online play now modes.
So they're not like, you can't like do like league, GM or whatever it's
called.
No
seasons, no franchises, no career modes, no nothing like that. Just one-off games with the WNBA rosters.
I mean, it sucks, but you gotta, at this point, I figure you gotta get in where you can right now.
And I agree. Like I said, if there's one thing that Live needs, it is a reason to buy it over 2K. Right. And for this group of people that does value having the WNBA at a basketball game, then I mean that is the reason. Like that's going to be a compelling reason for a lot of folks out there to do this. And to EA's credit, they're not like, they are half-assing it, but the half of the work they are doing is serious. Like they will have every team in the game. They will have the up-to-date rosters. They did bring some of the WNBA players in to like facially scan them and actually have them in the game. So it's the same kind of thing that they did with FIFA. So that's a good thing. However, I'm not optimistic that it's going to go much farther beyond this. So like in FIFA 17, the female soccer players had the same game modes as they did in FIFA 16, where it was just, one-off matches and a tournament. And that's it.
I'd be very curious to see sales statistics for 15, 16, 17, and 18
Mm.
to see how having them in, if it had any impact at all, to see
Well,
what the impact was.
FIFA's probably not the game to do that with because their impact for FIFA's already the highest selling console game every year, pretty much.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like everybody's gonna buy it anyway, so there's no, they're not the underdog, right? Like,
Right. There's no measurable impact. What you should look at in the case of this example is how does 2K sales compare year over year to last year, and how many just how many copies does Live sell, because Live hasn't been in the game for 2 years, so it's kind of hard to look at a year by year comparison for them.
right.
So, but like I said, it's not a bad thing. Making any video game more inclusive is always a plus, because that just opens it up to more people. And look, if they want realism, as long as they can put a Washington Mystics attendance champions banner in the game, then I will be happy. That's what I'm going to require.
Oh goodness gracious! Here's a question, right? The WNBA has the sponsorships on their jerseys. They have the sponsorships on their jerseys in game also. Like does Verizon get a cut of that?
I don't think so, because it's no different than.
Well, I guess it's no different than them having Sprite on the somewhere, you know.
Well, no, that's different. So like if you have, so like Sprite, for example, is product placed in 2K, right? So they are getting, or actually it's actually Sprite probably paying for the privilege of being in 2K for that matter. Mm-hmm. With this one, it's just I guess it's a good question, actually. I don't really know how the concept of sponsorship in video games, where the sponsorship is something that exists
in real life.
So like the NASCAR games, for example, would probably be the best example.
I'm curious as to how that works, right? Because I mean, Verizon's not going to pay for the privilege to be on the WNBA jersey of a live avatar, right? Mm. Like they don't give a damn. But it's like, so is EA doing it for authenticity?
Well, they're definitely doing it for authenticity. That's for certain. I don't know. The only thing I can imagine is when you're getting the WNBA license, like all of that uniform sponsorships, all that sort of thing, just kind of maybe falls into that umbrella, perhaps.
Yeah.
Like maybe when Verizon signs the agreement with the WNBA that, hey, we're going to be on, whatever team's jersey, they're saying, hey, you're also consenting to having your logo advertised in, stuff with our partners as well.
Okay.
And I'm sure Verizon doesn't care. It's extra exposure for them too.
Yeah, so. Verizon doesn't care. Whatever. I was just curious as to who that benefits, right? Because if Verizon is getting a piece of that, you know what I mean?
Well, if you're nerd like me, like you want that stuff. It's as silly as it sounds. You want that stuff on the shirts because you want it to be as real as possible.
Yeah. It's a simulation, man.
Actually, FIFA's the same way, because in FIFA you have all of the sponsorships on the kits as well.
Yeah. I know soccer fans would be pissed if that Qualcomm logo wasn't on the jerseys.
I'm so glad that my club doesn't have a ridiculous logo. I would hate it if it was something that just stuck out like a sore thumb.
It looks like their jerseys are like colored to match the logo of the.
Well, sometimes they are, or no, actually, sometimes the logo is colored to match the jersey more so.
I would hope that the logo would conform to the jersey and not the jersey conform to the logo.
There's there's a German team that I sort of passively follow. And don't even try to pronounce this name, Micah, because you will not be able to do it. The name of the club is Borussia Mönchengladbach.
All right, never mind.
Right,
I was gonna try to type it,
but their colors are like green and black and white, basically. But their sponsor is this German bank called Posta Bank, who has a big, bright yellow and black logo that just, you slap it on their jersey, and it looks so completely out of place. Here, I'll try to find it real quick. Because I need you to see it because it's ridiculous. But yeah, like that's I like it when sponsors allow their logos to be twisted, or to be changed based on the team. Like Tottenham's company sponsorship does that. But let me just I'm gonna send this over to you in Facebook message real quick. And for those of you at home that are daring, feel free to Google Borussia Mönchengladbach's jersey, and
ooh,
right, like it doesn't belong. It does not belong.
It does not belong, and that's a pretty fly jersey, man. But then you got that big sticky note in the front of it. You know what I mean?
It does look like a Post-it note. It's terrible. So yeah, there's some very bad examples of that. But yeah, listen, look forward to sponsorships coming to an NBA jersey near you within the next couple of years, apparently.
All right, then.
So also coming to you, and sometime in, I guess, 2018, is going to be Dragon Quest Builders 2. This is the sequel to the Dragon Quest meets Minecraft mashup that Square put out last year, to apparently good enough success for a sequel. It's going to be coming out on PS4 and Nintendo Switch. Neither of us are really interested in this at all, I would think.
No.
Okay. That's what I thought. So that's fine. That's all we need to say about that. So Micah, if there's any story that reaffirms your previous beliefs in a specific website, this story is it for this week. Because Unsung Story, the famed tactics RPG that was Kickstarter funded and then immediately within a couple of years sent into development stall, is now getting a brand new publisher. Or not publisher, brand new developer. Because the original developer and publisher Playdeck is no longer involved with the game at all. At this point.
So they basically begged for money, got the money,
yeah,
and then skipped town.
Not really. Like it's just the development ended up being way more expensive than they thought it would be. Like they low guessed how much they would need to make this game, because it's not like Playdeck is some Johnny come lately mobile developer. Like Playdeck is a pretty notable developer in the mobile space for games.
The how does this work? Like those people, do they get their money back?
No.
Yo,
it is crowdfunded venture capitalism. You are giving money to put your faith in a project and hoping that project delivers on what they promise.
Yeah, but in venture capitalism, like, yeah, there's a risk, but there's also a reward of profit, not just you get the product, right? Like if I'm a venture capitalist, I'm investing in something in hopes for a significant return on my investment and possibly profit. Yeah, you invest in something like this, you get a return. So you are supposed to get a return in the form of the product that you invested in, but there's no profit. So if it fails, which quite frankly, it probably will, you're just out. Like, I do not understand.
Well, the profit comes in that or at least allegedly, this game would not be made if not for the backing of the people that want it, essentially.
But that's not profit.
It's not a profit, but it is a means to an end, right?
Yeah,
right.
Nah, man, I can't give you something in the hopes that you're going to give it back to me. Or you know, like, could you imagine if we still had the barter system and we tried to do shit like that? Hey, I'm gonna give you this. Give me that banana, and I'll make you a banana milkshake maybe one day, hopefully. But I don't know, because I don't know if I'll have enough bananas to make you a banana milkshake. So just give it to me. No.
It is. I find it fascinating, the juxtaposition between video game Kickstarter and board game Kickstarter. Board game Kickstarter is arguably one of the most reliable avenues of Kickstarter backing that there is, and that's not to say that there hasn't been some projects that have gone tits up and fucked off with some money,
right?
But for the most part, like the vast majority of them, at least deliver you the end product by the end of it. And I guess part of that is to do with the fact that with board games, like you can have a prototype and you could have a pretty fully formed concept before asking for the money.
Yeah.
Whereas with video games, it's, hey, we've got a plan.
Right. We want to do this. Let's and it's all dependent upon how much money we get. Like and because we haven't bought the technology, right? Like everything is a theory. Nah, man. Nah. You do a board game, you got a piece of paper, you can draw a little board on it, and you can say, oh, hey, here's the Monopoly man, here's the car, here's the thimble. You know what I mean? I don't know. Support board game Kickstarters all you want. Don't support any video game Kickstarters.
No, it's like I said, it's not looking good for this. So this is from Little Orbit. Little Orbit's the company, the developer that's now developing it. This is from their CEO, Matthew Scott. Quote, "We have spent hours going through the Kickstarter comments and researching all of the project materials, and I feel backers have made one thing clear. We need to focus on the original single-player game and Matsuno's design that was promoted during the campaign, and that is exactly what we're going to do. At this point, our primary goal is to separate the years of modifications and changes that were made while Playdeck attempted to deliver something to their backers." So, and I think what this Kickstarter project was it was a project where they're like, all right, we're going to set a funding goal because we want to make sure we get our money, but we're probably going to get way more than this. And that'll be what we actually need. And you see that again with board games sometimes too, is they'll set a specific funding goal, but in reality, they actually want to make a amount beyond that they have in their minds. And they think that, by offering stretch goals and incentives and stuff like that they'll get there. And the problem is with this project is that it just made it over the funding goal that was set.
Yeah, see, that's why you can't, I understand that concept. I think it's a dumb concept, but you're lowballing to try and convince people hey, I just need you to give a little more and then we can make it. Nah, man, be straight up. Just be honest, because when you lowball it like that, it makes people think it makes people feel you're cheating them. First comment I see: we need an accounting of what you developed for the game. Why is it that Orbit has very little assets in which to work from, and they say they're going to have to start the game from scratch? It sounds like you took investors' money and spent it on things it wasn't meant for, like hookers and drugs and blow. Some of that might not be true.
For those of you wondering, say, hey, Little Orbit, what have they done in the past? Well, fortunately for you, backers of Unsung Story, Little Orbit is a video game development juggernaut known for other tactical games such as Adventure Time, the Barbie line of games, and the Monster High series of games. So I'd have to imagine that your Japanese tactical role-playing game couldn't be in better hands right now.
You know what? I mean, I guess it's sad, but you'd be hard pressed to find sympathy from me.
No, I mean, and like I said, when you back something on Kickstarter, this is what you are taking into your hands.
Yep. As long as people know that they're throwing their money into the ether, and they're not getting it back. If you're okay with that, then by all means keep donating. You should probably throw some of that money in our direction, because we're giving you stuff like product, stuff to listen to. But yeah, keep doing it.
And look, the best comment that I've seen on this article here, if nothing else, I think Kickstarter has exposed us to the harsh realities of game development. Yep.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of game projects that this shit happens to that nobody hears about just because their money's not on the line.
Yep.
So there you go.
I remember my friends, people I used to hang out with, after a session of them getting high, they were like, yo, we should make a game. And I'm like, do you know how to make a game? It's like, no, but I know how to program. Like, well, that's one aspect.
Great. That's one out of 10 aspects that you need to do well.
And there you go. You need to do it well. So I don't know, but it's Like you hear about some of these people who, they start their game company in their garage, and now they're making Spider-Man for PS4. You know what I mean? And you're like, wow, I want to do that. But you got to remember, just like any other famous person, like there's a lot of luck, a lot of skill, and a lot of luck that went into that. And you gotta go in with a dream, right? Like this podcasting thing, right? Everybody and their mama's got a podcast, right? We think we're the best, but there's no guarantee that this is going to take off. As much money has been invested into this, I get that it's a labor of love, but I don't know. I'm rambling. Moving on.
It does take a lot of luck. That's for damn certain.
Yeah,
it's for damn certain. And like I said, we're speaking from people who have done this from grassroots, so we know.
Yeah,
we know. So we're gonna end headlines with a heartwarming story. We'll see how cynical Micah can deal with this. So NBC Sports Network had a Rocket League tournament over the weekend that they hosted and televised. Now, there was some controversy. This was a 2v2 tournament, whereas many of the pro players for Rocket League usually play 3 versus 3. Apparently, it's very different. I have no doubt that that's actually the case. But there was one player named Josh Russo who was supposed to play in this tournament, and his teammate couldn't make it down to the event. But his dad, who was there cheering him on at the tournament, volunteered to be his partner in this 2v2 match.
Russo's dad or the partner's dad?
Russo's dad.
Oh, wow.
His dad. And he had never played Rocket League before. So here's dad cutting his teeth in a professional Rocket League tournament among the best Rocket League players in the world.
I mean, look, I'm not made of stone, yo. I'm not made of stone. Like that's what a dad is supposed to do, man.
And guess what? He scored a goal. Dad did.
Oh shit!
Yes, in the most dad way possible, because he accidentally backed up into the ball as it was taking around the goal mouth. Look, it's a fun story, and obviously, like as you'd expect, the commentators and everyone at the event was like pulling for this team just because it was a great story. Of course, they lost, but they still had a great time, and they and the kid John Russo was thought it was awesome, and he really appreciated his dad.
Oh man,
for helping him.
Look, that's awesome. That's awesome. Like you could tell it was like spur of the moment, because the little title card that the producers put up, they didn't have the guy's name at the time, so they just put dad. So there, we linked to the article in here. Watch some of the videos; they're really good. Like, so especially the one where dad actually scores. It's fun. Like I said, we're cynical folks here, but we're not, like Micah said, we don't have hearts made of stone. Yeah, man, we're not bastards, man. Like this is that's cool, man. That's
and look,
cool.
this is the kind of stuff that like this is the stories I like to see out of gaming.
Yeah, man. My dad would never do anything like that. Never, ever, ever. He won't even listen to a podcast that I'm doing. Like, I can't imagine him coming in and helping me out with something. Nah. Not unless it's got to do with like shingling the roof or some shit like that. His roof, not mine. Like, oh, all right. Thanks.
Preach. I don't know. I remember talking to your dad. He seems very interested in making sure that we're interacting with our fans.
Yeah.
So I remember that story.
Not fans, customers.
Oh, customers. That's right. Well,
a lot of customers. Well, we don't really call them customers. Like, we like to think of them as fans, maybe even friends of the show. But they paying, right? Because they customers. Like, all right, yeah, that's it. That's it. God damn it.
Speaking of being a good customer, make sure whenever you're buying anything from Amazon.com, you go to densepixels.com/Amazon. Whenever you buy any items, big or small, the reason is that you're going to pay the same low Amazon prices, no matter what you buy. but a small percentage of that sale goes towards the Dense Pixels podcast. It helps us pay for our overhead costs like hosting and equipment and things like that. We certainly appreciate every one of you who has used our Amazon link to buy something, and those of you that continue to do on a consistent basis. But yeah, again, densepixels.com/Amazon. Whenever you're buying anything from Amazon.com, we really appreciate it, and it's free for you. Doesn't cost you anything extra.
If you're a Trump fan, I don't know why you're listening to this, but you might want to skip ahead a couple minutes. Reps from EA and Take-Two say that Trump's policies are hurting the U.S. game industry. So during a panel at the 2017 Games for Change Festival, representatives for Electronic Arts and Take-Two Interactive discussed the Trump administration as it relates to their company's interest, focusing their complaints on three significant issues across the domestic and foreign policy. 1, immigration; 2, education; and 3, trade. They argued that the White House isn't doing what is best for the U.S. video game industry. So, immigration. Basically, there's a lot of moving parts here. Trump backed a bill that would essentially cut legal immigration in half. And some supporters are like, well, it's because we want people to come in who can bring a certain amount of skills to the country, right? We don't want just anybody coming in. You got to come in and you got to contribute, right? This article goes on to say that that could turn out to be a boon for the video game industry, which focuses on employees with technical skills and advanced degrees. But Trump also signed an executive order in April that initiated the review of the H-1B visa program, which allows companies to bring skilled foreign workers into the U.S. for a few years. Basically, we can get all those geniuses over there from Asia to come in and help us make really good video games if we are, EA or somebody. H-1B visas are limited to specialized fields like science and technology, including game development, and the government grants over 100,000 of them a year. But the Trump administration's review signals an intent to overhaul the program in name of protecting American workers, right? We don't want those foreigners to come in and take our jobs, and it could restrict those visas coming in.
So I guess we'll tackle these one issue at a time.
Yeah.
So the problem with this, and this is certainly not a situation that's unique to video games. Anytime that you want to tighten up any immigration policies, you're going to get kind of not a brain drain, but like a brain block, basically. And the reason that doesn't work is because you have a lot of other countries, like, I don't know, Canada, other countries in Europe that are just like, hey, we'll take you right over here.
That's exactly, like they're wooing you to come over.
Right. And when you have, and so here's a couple of game studios just off the top of my head: BioWare, Ubisoft, CD Projekt Red, Guerrilla Games. Yeah, like, and that's just like, that's without even thinking about it, notable game development studios that are headquartered in not America.
Yep.
Basically. And so if you are limiting the number of folks that are able to come in, work for these studios and drive their innovation forward, the end product is going to suffer. Like, studios like, Rockstar, for Christ's sakes. lest I forget.
They made their living parodying American culture.
Right. Not a US studio though.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like they are a foreign studio poking fun at Americans. And now yeah, because nobody wants to play Mass Effect or Assassin's Creed or The Witcher or Grand Theft Auto. No one's ever heard of those games, right? You wouldn't want to work for those companies, right?
Exactly.
Shut up, man.
and that's the thing though, is if you really want American businesses to prosper, you want them to have access to the best and brightest people that they can have access to. And you're not only going to find those people inside the United States.
Right.
And likewise, there's a lot of people from the US that are going to these other game studios because they want to work with the best and brightest team. So you have this like cyclical relationship that's just taking the businesses inside of your country and just kind of dragging them down a little bit by restricting, the talent that they have access to.
The article goes on to say, I don't have the names of the, oh yes I do. The rep from Electronic Arts name is Craig Hagan, and the rep from Take-Two is Alan Lewis. Alan Lewis said that, this immigration thing is a problem on two accounts. One, immigrants don't want to come here because we're run by a lunatic, bigot, xenophobic despot. And two, the immigrants that are here either can't stay or don't want to stay. So I just, the whole America First thing, like the whole like inclusiveness just didn't, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Like, it's not what the country was built on.
Well, it's this misguided. Again, this transcends video games. It's this misguided tunnel vision that you think of things on the most basic level possible. Is that, if we stop people from coming into the country, then there will be more jobs for unemployed Americans to be able to take advantage of. In a lot of cases, those are jobs that unemployed Americans are willing or able to do, though.
Right.
And all you're doing is usually hurting people at the high end of the scale more often than not, as far as getting top talent and stuff like that in there. So it's like, and again, it's looking for a binary solution to a problem that's anything but, essentially.
Next up, education. STEM education is vital in developing the kinds of skills that game developers need. Hagan lamented that the Trump administration's position on education, that it's best left to the states, and that the federal Department of Education doesn't have a widespread policy program for STEM fields. STEM stands for science, technology, education, and math. It is something that everyone should be interested in, at least at some point, or not even interested. You should at least be introduced to it, like, strongly. Because while it's cool to dribble a ball and throw a football and kick a soccer ball, like, we need people to try and find a cure for cancer.
Well, and also technology fields are, one of the few fields that's growing on a year-over-year basis. Like, you're always going to need more people to know how to, operate systems and code and program and do all this other stuff. And like, I'll never understand. Like, I do understand why Republicans like cutting education budgets.
I don't.
But I'll never. Oh, you don't?
No.
I mean, again, this is me being super cynical, but when you can keep, and what are the states that usually get hit the hardest when stuff like this happens?
Oh, the stupid ones. Like,
right.
You got to keep the stupid people stupid.
Right. And what color do those states usually turn out for? in presidential election, and actually in all elections, really, for that matter.
Yeah.
So
I got you.
Like I said, it might be cynical, but I mean, correlation sometimes is causation. You know what I mean?
Damn.
So
Trump announced last week that he was going to donate his second quarter salary of $100,000 to the Department of Education, which will use the funds to hold STEM-focused science camps for students. However, his administration's proposed 2018 budget, which, to be fair, probably won't get past Congress, calls for spending cuts of $9.2 billion, or 13.5% across K through 12 schools and higher education. I mean, it hurts my heart, man. Like, it makes me weep, man.
I know. Well, I mean, we gotta teach kids to, continue to take up the practice of hitting rocks with a pickaxe so that you can use outdated fuel for, to heat your homes.
God damn it. Lastly, the game industry is moving towards digital distribution and away from shipping retail games. Digital games comprise a majority of total sales for both Take-Two, 55%, and EA for 61% during their respective 2017 fiscal years, which both ended in March. But that shift is hindered by the sorry state of broadband penetration in the United States. The new chairman of the FCC under Trump favors deregulating the massive corporations that provide internet access to Americans instead of having the government level the playing field. This jackass believes it can spur private investment in broadband infrastructure by appeasing companies such as AT&T, Comcast, and Verizon. Again, this goes back to whether or not we need to consider the internet as a resource, a la,
or you mean a utility?
Yes, a utility. I'm sorry, like electricity and water and things like that. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? This is why I don't like talking about this shit, because it doesn't compute with me. Like it's like dividing by zero, man. And
I mean, again, if you want to,
for those of you who are stupid, you can't do that.
I find it very hard to believe that it's a coincidence that the countries that have the best high-speed internet, that have the most people that have access to it, also tend to be the smartest countries in the world.
Right.
Like it's an information age.
You want to put America first, you need to have access to information in the flyover states.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I hate to use that term because, but that term makes it feel like those states aren't worthy.
Well, and it's not even about the access as much. Also, that's part of the equation. The other part of the equation is the affordability of it as well. I mean, I find it a little ridiculous that I think that I'm getting a really good deal when I'm paying $80 a month for 150 megabits of high-speed internet. Like that's and I'm fortunate that I'm able to comfortably afford that bill where I'm paying, what does that add up to over the course of the year? My brain is farting, right? It's like $550 or thereabouts over the course of an entire year. Like that is not an insignificant amount of money. And there's some people that, even if they had access to that, or there's some people that do have access to that, just can't afford that. And that's part of the problem as well. And look, and we talk about all the time how, physical game sales aren't dying as quick as everyone thinks that they are. And this is a big reason for that, but it's also it also stunts the ability for these companies that rely on this digital distribution to be able to grow that at the rate that they want to sometimes.
Yeah.
And look, this was a president that campaigned on wanting to, redevelop a huge infrastructure plan. And, for him, that means fix your roads and your bridges and stuff like that. But of course, he wants to privatize all that. It's not, the public's not going to pay for all that if the Republicans have their say. But, so far he hasn't made too many advances towards moving that plan forward.
I don't want to live in a world where we are run by the Shinra Corporation. You know what I mean?
And look, again, this is these specific policies that we address today are the byproduct of an administration who doesn't understand how the federal government works, and they're trying to govern by campaign slogan. And you find out that once you get to the big chair and once you have to start making decisions, you can't just say, oh, do it, jump because I said jump. Like, no, that's not how the government works. And like, we just saw that with, the big fight, the multi-month fight to try to, repeal the Affordable Care Act, which met with failure. And you're going to see it again when, when we try to tackle tax reform. You're going to be in the same boat. Just because you want it to be a certain way doesn't mean that it can be that way. And if anything, like, this administration so far has reaffirmed my appreciation for the checks and balances that are built in to our government.
Man. Yeah, man. Like, those dudes back then, while they were bastards and slave owners and, all around assholes, like they came up with a system to prevent what this administration is trying to have happen. You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why the president is only 1/3 of government. So his will is not law.
Right.
Because you never know. Someone might have a bad day and want to bomb a country because they made fun of them or some shit.
And look, like we joke about fucking Trump all the time because he's an easy target, but we don't talk politics often in the show because that's not what the show is all about. But we do occasionally in matters like this, just to remind everyone that the stuff that it affects everything, whether you think it affects it or not. Yeah. And like, if you keep going on this path where you want to introduce policies that are xenophobic, and look, like the immigration law that was proposed that Trump supported last week, it will never even make it past the committee stage probably in Congress. Like nothing like that would ever be signed into law. I can promise you. But just the fact, but just having the president up there doing that matters because that's what the rest of the world sees.
Right.
Like that's why it's a big deal. Even though the law, like, people will say all the time, oh, that law's never gonna pass. Yeah, I get it. But when the president says it, it's American policy. When the president tweets it, it's American policy. Whether you think it should be or not, that's what it is. Right.
That's what he's the face of America. God damn.
Well, no, false. Kevin Owens is the face of America. This face.
You know what? Let's move on. Let's move on that happy note. Question of the week. Since it's a slow news week, what do you people want us to talk about? Malcolm says, talk about the WNBA being in live and that Jay would get dunked on by all of them.
Jay would get dunked on by all of them, actually. That's 100% true.
Yes, he would get dunked on them. I think Jay said that the point of basketball, the only reason people watch basketball is to watch a dude dunk on another dude and put his balls on their head. Well, yeah, every single one of those ladies would dunk on Jay and put their fallopian tubes on his head. I don't know.
That's when all those white guys were in gymnasiums in the early 1900s with peach baskets hung on the wall. All they wanted to do was put balls in their face.
Henry says, Fire Pro World, have any of you played it yet? Also, what are your picks for SummerSlam and or the G1 Climax? I am waiting for Fire Pro World to come on PS4.
As am I.
I really thought about getting it on Steam, but I was like, well, let me just wait. Picks for SummerSlam. I'm not ready to disclose that information yet. When is SummerSlam?
God damn, it's I think it's in 2 weeks.
I might not be here.
Uh-oh.
Anyway, we'll check later. G1 Climax, I'm assuming this is some sort of indie.
It's New Japan.
New Japan. Where can I watch New Japan?
I think you can get it directly from them online. Like, I'm sure I think you have to pay for it, but I think you can stream their events.
Okay. Because G1 Climax sounds like, well, you know what it sounds like.
I mean, I think the reason why people are interested right now in that is because Kenny Omega is a guy who is getting a lot of play right now.
Yes.
So
I've heard that name before. Ricky says, Game of Thrones season 7. What have you liked and disliked from the season? I know it's not game related, but damn, things are on fire, literally. I haven't watched I'm going at right after this taping.
Oh, you haven't seen episode 4 yet?
No. So directly after this taping. And I've been trying my best to dodge as much as I possibly can. But I kind of get a feeling about what's going to happen. But episode 3 with Grandma Tyrell, I mean, that might have been the most gangster shit I've ever seen an old lady do ever.
This season's had a lot of really cool moments set around a lot of really slow plot advancement so far. I think that's been the biggest theme from the season so far, is they have a lot of stuff that they have to, there's a lot of dialogue scenes that have to play out between characters that haven't met before or haven't interacted in a long time, so that there needs to be a lot of exposition and plot advancement done that way. But around all that stuff, there's some really interesting moments, like the ship ravaging in, what was that, episode 2?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm pretty sure. Like you said, Lady Oleana getting the last laugh on the Lannisters is pretty cool. So there's been some good stuff. It's just been fewer and far between. And this episode was actually an interesting juxtaposition of that, where you had half the episode, which was a lot of what we'd been talking about, and then the other half of the episode, which was really exciting and very fun to watch. So
excellent. I can't wait to see it. This season is did you read any of the books?
Nope, not a one.
I don't know if, like, I know this season is the first season where they're kind of freeballing it. Right? Like, I think last season was the first season that they were on their own. Oh, okay. All right. I mean, I can't tell the difference, but it's got enough there that I'm not like bored by it.
Oh no, it hasn't been boring, but some people have found this season terribly unexciting so far, and I get why that is. I do get why that is. Mm-hmm. Because actually so far up to this point, most of the stuff that has been action oriented really hasn't been on screen. Like when the Unsullied took over Casterly Rock, like you saw bits and pieces of that battle, but it wasn't much. And then the battle at Highgarden, you didn't see any of it. You saw the aftermath. That's it.
Yeah. So I just need Cersei. I just need Cersei to keep being Cersei. Like, she's like the head bitch on the Real Housewives of Westeros. You know what I mean? Like, she's the one that like is like, oh, you're such a fucking bitch. I can't wait to see what you do next week. You know what I mean? But I'm enjoying it. Amir says, is there a comfort food game that you can go back to anytime if it's slow for gaming, i.e. me buying a PS3 to play the Metal Gear series again? He really did that.
I know. I remember we posted in our group about it.
I'll usually, like, if I need to veg out, I'll play like a fighting game or something, because I'm not they're very basic for me if I'm in like a veg out mode, or I'll play like a puzzle game or something like that.
Interestingly enough, for me, there's not one game like it's like a rotating thing. So like right now for me, that game is Diablo 3. For a while, it was Hearthstone. I guess the only games that over time I've been able to reliably go back to have oddly enough been SNES sports titles.
What?
So like NBA, it's the most random NBA Jam TE, Tecmo Super Bowl. Those are games that I can pick up and play whenever. Huh. And I'll just get the inclination to do every now and then.
Huh. All right. Eric says, if you had to make a 3-person all-star b-ball team, including yourself, which video game characters would you choose? I'm going to add the caveat that it cannot be a sports athlete.
Oh, man. God damn it. Shit.
Yeah, you can't be like, oh, I'm gonna pick Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. No, you can't do that, man. Get the fuck out of here. One for me, one Sagat.
Oh, wait, we're good. Okay, yeah, you go ahead and give yours real quick.
One Sagat, and man, who's got handles? Who's got handles? Because you gotta have a big man, and I need a point guard. I need like a little dude that's got like handles. I don't know. For some strange reason, I feel like Falco Lombardi can ball.
I don't know if that's correct.
I don't know. I don't know why either. It just the first name that came to my head.
Listen to what I'm going to do to you. I don't like your rule that you made. So I'm going to say fuck your rule and find a loophole around that rule, because my two characters are Shaquille O'Neal from Shaq Fu and Michael Jordan from Chaos on the Windy City.
Oh,
suck it,
God
Micah.
damn it.
Suck it. Not sports video games.
God damn it. And it counts too. Bowls. Jesus Christ. Carl says, have you guys heard of the Universal Fighting System card game? If not, it's basically if Street Fighter, Super Smash Brothers, and Magic the Gathering had a no holds barred threesome while Mega Man filmed. What are your thoughts on it or games like it, where video games are turned into tabletop games? I think you are the perfect person.
And yes, I have heard of the UCG system that Carl's referring to. So this is where I have to put on my tabletop game snob hat here, because there are way better fighting card games out there than that system, which has to be very generic so that it can accommodate the multitude of licenses that it has. So if you
is it like a Mugen for card games?
Sort of. So the way that UGC works is that there exists a framework within like of rules and how the mechanics work in the game, but within that framework, you can make new characters and put licenses in the game, and you can make them work within that structure, essentially, if that makes sense. Carl, if you want some fighting card games that are a little bit better, in my opinion, at least, I would recommend, but they won't have as much expandable content, but there's still a lot to keep you busy. A couple recommendations: Yomi, which Micah can also attest to as being
I
very
like
fun.
that game, man.
Also, the BattleCon series, specifically Devastation of Indines, is also an excellent tabletop fighting card game as well that I'd recommend.
Excellent. Our buddy Justin says, can we talk about and theorize why games like Crash Remake and Shovel Knight were praised, yet Yooka-Laylee was met with negative reviews, despite all three being faithful to their source material / source time? I'm assuming this is the Crash Bandicoot remake?
Yeah, the Crash trilogy that just came out, basically, I guess he's referring to.
People dig that?
It was the top-selling game in the PlayStation Store during the month of July.
Holy shit.
So, and it was number 2 in June, despite only being on the market for one day.
Damn.
Yeah, people are all about that Crash remake. Why did Yooka-Laylee get panned while the other stuff gets praised? Well, I think with Shovel Knight, they have a good formula that their fans like. And if you notice with those expansions, like they add new characters and stuff like that, but they don't change what the game essentially is, and people like what the game essentially is. With Crash Bandicoot, you took a beloved, for some reason, series from 20 years ago, and you put a fresh new coat of paint on it, and of course people are going to like that. And like I said, I don't understand the obsession with Crash Bandicoot. I've never understood the obsession with Crash Bandicoot. Now, granted, I didn't make it past the first game, because after playing some of Crash Bandicoot 1, I didn't want to play any other Crash Bandicoot games, because that game fucking sucks.
Yeah, man.
I don't care what anybody says. It's terrible. And I guess with Yooka-Laylee, and I haven't played Yooka-Laylee, and it was faithful to that genre of games, that Banjo-Kazooie style 3D platformer. I don't know that it did a lot that was new to kind of move that genre forward, I guess. And to be fair with Yooka-Laylee, like there are a lot of people who like that game. Even though it got critically very mediocre scores, it's still there's enough people out there who like that game that praised it. And I think that if you're predisposed to liking that style platformer, you probably like Yooka-Laylee a lot more. And if you were expecting it to be like the greatest 3D platform of all time, maybe you're a little disappointed. But I mean, just biases that come with that. Nostalgia also plays a huge part in the case of Crash Bandicoot.
That's the only thing I can think of. Because look, the first time I played Crash Bandicoot game was when I played Uncharted 4. And I was like, this is what people like. Like Crash had came out at that time in the 90s where everybody had a mascot platformer, right? Everybody had some little furry thing running from left to right, trying to be wacky and extreme because it was the 90s. And I got burnt out on that shit. So I didn't play Bonk and Bubsy and the Noid game and the 7-Up Yours Spot game and all that bullshit, man. Like I just got really, really sick of it. So I never jumped on the Crash train. I'm amazed that game has sold as well as it did.
Well, and again, we nostalgia is the most dangerous drug in video games, to be sure.
Yeah.
Like there's so many gaming things that have sold on nostalgia alone. It's the reason why GoldenEye is still like a beloved game. That game sucks.
GoldenEye's a piece of shit, yo.
Right. By today's standards. By today's standards. But like people are like, oh, I love it because you loved it then.
Yeah, you loved hanging out. You loved hanging out with your buddies and yelling at the asshole that picked Odd Job. You know what I mean? Like that game was a first person. Like the C buttons were like the look stick. Like it. Ugh. Gross. It was gross. Anyway, Evan says, what's the worst place you've ever visited excluding Florida?
I'm glad that disclaimer's in there.
Oh man, where have I been? That's I don't hate Philadelphia. I don't like the way people think Philadelphia is so much better than any other city. Like it's just a bunch of fucking white trash, just like Baltimore. Just a bunch of white trash all over the place. I didn't really have a good time in Boston, but it's a decent town. I don't know, man. Everywhere I go, I try not to go to like shitty places. Yeah, I think every place I've been, I've enjoyed something about it.
And I don't travel to a ton of places, so I can't. I'm kind of the same way. Like I can find the silver lining with a lot of places. I'm trying to think of anywhere I've been that I just didn't enjoy myself for whatever reason, and it's tough to think of that. Every you know what? The only city that I didn't really care for was Atlanta. That's really? Probably the only one that I can think of.
Why was that?
It's such a weird downtown area, like just the way it's structured, and there's nothing to do.
The thing with Atlanta, you gotta drive everywhere.
Right. And that sucks when you're not driving. Like I was 14 when I went to Atlanta.
Yeah. And you gotta drive everywhere. Like the transit system, like downtown Atlanta is very weird, like you said, because there's like the CNN building and there's the Coca-Cola building, and then there's a Ferris wheel for some fucking reason. And then you got to drive like 45 minutes to an hour to get somewhere. And it's just, it's too spread out. It's too spread out.
Well, and then also like Atlanta, it's also one of the few cities that has the highest cool shit to do in the suburbs to the city ratio.
Mm.
Like there's a lot of stuff to see in Atlanta in the suburbs of Atlanta, but the city just doesn't really have anything for me. I don't know. The city did not make a impression on me when I went there. That's for sure.
Yeah. Atlanta's kind of boring. We have family down. Well, she has family down there, and we generally don't go. I've been to Gaffney, South Carolina, home of President Frank Underwood, and I saw that big ass peach. Like I saw that big ass peach that was there.
That's really funny. Yeah, that's actually a better question is what places I've been to that I didn't anticipate to enjoy as much as I did. Like Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Huh. Gatlinburg?
Yeah.
Yo, it sounds like I don't need to be there.
No, it's actually a cool tourist city. Like it doesn't sound like it would be, right? Because it's just fucking Gatlinburg. What the hell is that?
Yeah.
But that was Gatlinburg was pretty cool. I was surprised I like San Antonio as much as I did. I really like San Antonio.
I haven't been to Texas. I gotta go to Texas. Her brother lives in Texas now, so we might pay him a visit when it gets colder here. Look, Florida, man. Like everybody shits on Florida, but depending on where you are, it's not half bad. Like Miami's great. Miami's amazing, right? But the problem with Florida is that it's so big and it's so swampy. Like there's not a lot to do if you're not in a major city. And the wife is from just outside of Daytona. And even then, like, ain't shit to do in Daytona, but look at cars, run around in circles for 500 laps. Like it's not exactly, they're trying to come up, but it's not exactly like a tourist attraction. You know what I mean?
Right. And I remember like Jacksonville wasn't anything special. You know what I mean?
Right. That's why my wife likes to go to the beach all the time, because there ain't shit to do. So, but I don't know.
And I'll tell you another city that I was actually shocked was as cool as it was Cleveland.
I've always heard that, man. I've always heard that. I might have to make that a stop.
Cleveland's legit, man. Like so the whole city, or at least like the main part of the city, is about the size of like the Inner Harbor, believe it or not. But there's some cool shit to do in Cleveland. They have some really cool bars. Not that you would care about the bars, but they had some really cool bars that we got to visit as well.
I mean, I'd go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That was cool.
Yeah, I'd do that in Cleveland. I'd go to the Miz's house. That seems fun. Michael says, let's talk about sex, baby. I want to talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex.
Do you know
You're welcome.
You know what was a weird thing in wrestling lore?
What's that?
Is why were like Salt and Peppa like on stage the entire time at WrestleMania 11? Like they were just kind of there.
Really?
Yeah, it was like, so they were like a musical guest, right? And like I remember for some reason right before the main event, when Bam Bam Bigelow was coming out, like he like made a move towards them and was like, I'm gonna get you, and they ran away like scared. It was very strange. Like I just remember I was like, were Salt and Peppa out the entire time at the forgotten WrestleMania?
That is very odd to me. Yeah, that's weird. Malcolm says, just finished Red Dead Redemption and wondering what you guys think the sequel entails. Side note, I better not have to play as Jack. Malcolm, I am 100% in agreement with you. If I have to play as Jack, if I find out I have to play as Jack, I might not buy that game. How about that? Because Jack, gross.
It is weird that game comes out in 6 months and nobody has any clue about the story.
Nobody's talking about it. You know what though? Like that's good. That's good. I need people to not talk about it until they're ready to talk about it. So what do I think the sequel will entail? I think the sequel will be a totally different story with totally different characters, much like how the in the same world, much like Grand Theft Auto takes place on the same earth. Like all the cities are there, like Los Santos is the same Los Santos in Grand Theft Auto 5 as it is in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas or whatever. I might be getting them confused, but yeah, I think that's what'll happen. I think there'll be a totally different protagonist. You won't play as Jack. And I would like to see maybe I don't know what I would want to see because I don't watch too many westerns, so I have no idea what a western story would be like. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I have no idea what I could even add as a cliche to see in a sequel. How about you?
I didn't play the first one, so I don't care.
What?
I played 6 hours of Red Dead Redemption 1.
Oh man, you
We
couldn't
talked
get into
about
it?
this. No, I don't typically care for Rockstar's particular formula of games.
I wish I could tell you that this game is different, but it is not.
The problem with their games, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. Their gameplay is not good. Like the actual mechanics and the actual playing of the game is never good. It's never great. How about that? It's never great. It's not abysmal, but it's never great.
Okay, I'm willing to concede that it is not the best, but they have made advancements in their gameplay. They've constantly refined it to the point where I think, well, no, I won't even say that, but you would notice what was the last Rockstar game you played?
It probably was Red Dead Redemption, honestly.
You would notice a difference if you play Grand Theft Auto 5.
Interesting.
But the same gameplay loop is still there, right?
My problem is that if you were asking me to spend upwards of 50 to 60 hours in your game world, I would expect me to enjoy playing the game. Like Horizon Zero Dawn is a game that I would not have a problem spending 50 to 60 hours in from a gameplay perspective because the gameplay in that game is fantastic. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've never gotten that sense from Rockstar games.
All right, I got you. Wow, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I forgot that you are un-American. Mark says, since we are at trend of older action stars still kicking ass when they should maybe consider retirement, who would win in a full out bloody brawl between Bruce Willis, Liam Neeson, Keanu Reeves, Mel Gibson, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Harrison Ford? Keep in mind that these are just the regular guys. They are, and they're just the regular guys that they are, and none of the characters that they previously played. It would be a knockdown drag out between. It would come down to Keanu Reeves and Mel Gibson.
Really? I think Liam Neeson would be the guy.
I think
you want to stake your money on.
I think you are thinking of Liam Neeson, the characters that he plays. I think Liam Neeson is just an old dude going through the motions. It takes 15 separate cuts for him to climb a fence, and that's when he's a badass character. I can't imagine Liam Neeson doing anything. Whereas Keanu Reeves is just the guy Keanu Reeves, but Keanu Reeves does his homework and he actually wants to be able to do that kung fu shit that you saw in The Matrix, and he actually wants to be able to do the John Wick stuff, right? And Mel Gibson, I mean, you cannot underestimate the berserker rage of a racist.
He's fueled by the power of fucking racism.
Yeah, man. You cannot. It's like fighting the Tasmanian devil, right? I think Keanu Reeves is a real life urban ninja, and I think Mel Gibson is quite possibly the devil incarnate. And the two of them would easily take out Bruce, I don't give a fuck about anything anymore, Willis, Liam, I'm too old for this shit, Neeson, Sylvester, Stallone, and Arnold, just leave me the fuck alone, Schwarzenegger. And Harrison Ford is up somewhere crashing a plane. That's the only way Harrison Ford would win, is if he was in a plane and he crashed down into the all-out brawl.
You know what's weird is talking about Mel Gibson, and I don't know if you feel the same way as me about this, but you know, sometimes when someone like fucks up, or you see their true selves, it becomes difficult to separate the art from the artist.
Yes,
never had that problem with Mel Gibson for some reason. Yeah, I can still watch all the Lethal Weapons. Payback is still a terrible movie that I still enjoy watching whenever it's on TV. Mad Max is like it never for some reason with his movies does not ever creep into my mind that this guy is a dodgy racist. So.
One, that's because deep down you condone it, and two, no, I get what you mean. Like there are certain people. I mean, they are few and far between. Like whatever Michael Jackson may or may not have done, you put Smooth Criminal on, I'm dancing, right? But then there are certain people, like for a long time, R. Kelly was like, well, I can still, I still like Step in the Name of Love, right? But it's gotten to the point where it's like, all right, guys, like I can't support you anymore. But I usually have no problem separating art from artist, unless they do something heinous, like piss on kids or something.
Here's a good one that's always probably the toughest one to answer. Where are you on OJ?
Oh, fuck that guy. He did it.
But I'm saying, as far as like, can you still watch like the Naked Gun movies?
Wow. I probably can, because he's not the focal point in those movies. You know what I mean? Like he's not, like if this was a starring vehicle that OJ was in, I would just like ugh. The only reason I was able to watch that FX OJ thing, American Crime Story, is because I think that Cuba Gooding Jr. looks nothing like OJ Simpson.
Oh, you think if they had found an actor with a better likeness, it would have been tougher?
Yeah, it would have been a little more difficult for me, because I'm looking at this and I'm laughing, because I'm like, why is Cuba Gooding Jr. calling himself OJ? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
I still need to watch that series. I heard it was good, and I have it on Netflix, but I haven't actually watched it.
It's really good, man. It's really, really good. John Travolta looks ridiculous in it, but it looks really, it's really good. You should watch it. Moving on. Matthew says, why are roguelikes the work of the why are roguelikes the work of the devil? It feels as though you don't really have control of the game. Rather, you are playing the odds that you'll have a good run this turn. Is there merit to ratchet up difficulty to the point where luck becomes a factor?
Yeah, the merit's called replay value.
Yep, it's the same reason people are addicted to gambling, man. You never know what you're gonna get, and people are like, wow, like what new trait am I going to get from Rogue Legacy from my deceased parents? Like, is it going to be a buff, or am I going to be blind in one eye?
Well, and the other reason it works too is that with like Rogue Legacy or other roguelike games of that sort, they're not asking you for a significant time investment. So if you get a shitty roll and you have to suffer through a crap run, okay, that was half an hour of my life. Not a big deal. Hit the reset button and do it again.
Yeah.
So if they were asking you to play like 10 hours and it sucked, then that'd be a different story altogether.
Oh yeah. Look, I might have to fight somebody. Gaston says, my fiance is an extremely casual gamer. She'll only touch the occasional Mario game and mostly plays the mobile stuff. Is there a game that y'all would recommend to kind of get her more into gaming, or has it been a relatively lost cause in y'all's experience?
Well, I can speak directly on this because I've gotten my wife to play a few games. Now, granted, my wife played games a little bit growing up, so it's not like she was coming in completely out of the cold with this stuff. Mm-hmm. So the key, Gaston, is you have to find a fun cooperative game that she will be interested in from a thematic standpoint that has a very low complication overhead, mm-hmm. and that you can play together, because she won't, you're probably not going to get her to play stuff by herself. That's very unlikely. So find something that you guys can play together that she will enjoy, especially like the theme, that'll be easy for her to pick up and play. That's your best bet. The Lego games, you know, a lot of people look at them as kids games. Those games are easy to play and they're fun. If you can find one that has a theme that she is down with, then that would be good. The newer Mario Brother games, like the side-scrolling ones that play like the old school ones, those can be played cooperatively. That'd be a good way to do that as well. And as she gets comfortable playing, and so if she finds stuff that she likes, you might be able to spin her off into other things that you would rather play. Like, for example, like my wife started playing a lot of the Lego stuff, but now she'll play Diablo 3 with me, and she's quite good at it. So,
if your fiance is an artsy person and you're feeling daring, try Journey. It's low impact. It's beautiful, in my opinion. It takes just enough skill that a person would have to know what the two analog sticks do, like forward, back, and strafe versus looking. If she could do that, I would try Journey. Like Brad said, Lego games are always great. My wife has zero interest in video games. Well, not zero interest, but she has very, very little interest in video games. The only time she's ever played a video game with me was at Demetrius's party, where that lunatic rented a trailer that had a bunch of video games in it, and she was like, "Oh, let's play some video games." I'm like, "What? Are you drunk? Like, you've never wanted to play video games before?" But we were out, so she was showing out, and we were like, "All right, well, what do you want to play?" And we played Mortal Kombat X, and she picked the black girl because she's a black girl, and I picked the black guy because I'm a black guy. And then I whooped her ass because you get no freebies. And I killed her. I murdered her. And then we all played Call of Duty, of all games. So I would not recommend those games to start people out with, is what I'm saying. Any side-scrolling platformer, Rayman, Mario, all that good stuff. I would see if she takes to that. Johnny posts a GIF of Link slapping Zelda's ass and giving the thumbs up. All right. Jake says, it seems like we have at least two of you who are into racing. What's your excitement level for Forza 7? I'm excited, as I am for most in the series. But I really wish they'd get around to adding more tracks. I understand places like more club level circuits and pit race and Nelson Ledges not being in there, but not having tracks like Mid-Ohio, Barber, and Willow Springs seem ridiculous. I'm Forza Forever, ride till I die, but let's expand tracks here too and give me back
Tsukuba.
Damn it. Place has some flow. I assume you know what the hell is going on here.
Well, no, because Jake, I've got good news and bad news, buddy. Good news is you got the two guys who like racing games on the show today. Terrence does too, actually.
Terrence loves them.
Yeah, Terrence actually probably more than the rest of us. Yeah. Mike and I are filthy casual racing game fans, though.
Yeah, buddy.
We like our arcade racers. We like our Need for Speeds and our Mario Karts and our Burnouts and our, F-Zeros, as Gaston mentions below. He wants to know F-Zero. So do I, Gaston. So do I.
Johnny says, Just wanted to say to gamers everywhere, appreciate the tanks. You lazy ass DPS need them. Most tank jobs suck but are essential. I agree. I prefer when I was playing Final Fantasy 11 and 14, I would always pick Paladin, and nobody wanted Paladins. They all wanted ninjas because ninjas could DPS and Utasemi tank. Fuck ninjas. Fuck them. Fuck ninjas. Fuck them. Aaron says, heard about that box controller and why they won't let Super Smash Brothers Melee tourney players use anything other than a GameCube controller. What's up with that?
I've not heard of the box controller, but let's check it out. Apparently, this was a new controller that came out. It was on Kickstarter. It's called Hitbox Smashbox. That's where box comes from, I guess. Probably why? Well, first of all, this controller looks ridiculous. So, Micah, this is a GameCube controller done in the form of an arcade stick, but it is all buttons.
Yeah, I was about to say, wow, there's so many buttons on it.
It's all buttons. There is no actual analog sticks or D-pads or things of that kind. Everything is laid out in button form, which is ridiculous. Why can't they use these at Smash Brothers Melee? I don't know. That's a good. I didn't realize that they restricted GameCube controllers at at Evo for that.
I mean, but it's I don't know. Maybe you have an advantage in that. I honestly I don't know. There must be some sort of advantage that one can think of in having instead of the digital inputs coming from the stick in 8 directions, you have them laid out for you in 8 directions. So maybe you can palm the I have no idea.
I can't imagine why anyone would spend this when this was on Kickstarter. It was $200 to get one of these things. You can really realistically only use this with Smash Brothers. That seems like a lot of fucking money to spend on a controller that you can only use for basically one game.
I mean,
apparently you can use it on PC as well. I guess that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. This is not a controller that I would ever buy. I can tell you that much.
Johnny says, Micah, get a Pro controller for your Switch. It's a must. Duly noted. I will get one on Friday. Stuart says, if you could have the Bond franchise crossover with another movie franchise, which would you choose and why?
Oh, man. That's tough because if it was going to cross over with anything, I would need it to be like a legit spy franchise, not anything fucking stupid.
Well, the obvious answer is the Bourne franchise.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only one, I think. That would work the way that I'd want it to. I wouldn't really want that to happen, though. Honestly, I like Bond being Bond, doing his thing.
This is a hard question for me because most spy franchises take their cues from Bond, either indirectly or completely. Like 100%, like aping it. I would never want it to cross over with something like Kingsman. Like it's like Kingsman is its own thing. Bond is its own thing. Yeah, it would have to be Bourne, and it would have to be like a spy versus spy type thing until they both realize that they have to work together because somebody is playing both sides against the middle. Like I wouldn't want to see anything crazy like, oh, Bond meets Predator or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I would think it would have to be like an action franchise. Like Bond, like you said, Bond is its own thing for me. Mark says, if you guys could work for one gaming studio doing whatever, which would it be? BioWare. And do you guys ever wonder if all Terrence needs is a hug? Maybe. I ain't hugging him. I ain't touching him. Get the hell away from me.
Probably Blizzard for me.
Blizzard?
Seems like a cool place to work, yeah.
Probably, yeah. I could see that. Mine would definitely be BioWare. I like what they do over there. Like even if the world wants to pretend that what they do isn't good, I enjoy it. Randy says, "What's your favorite WWE entrance? If you could have an entrance at work, what music would you choose?" Oh man. Any
Now,
music or wrestling music?
I mean, I'm assuming it's wrestling music. So when we have to qualify this, is this regular entrance or is this? Can we include unique entrances, like one-off versions of an entrance in this mix as well?
You can do both.
Okay. I honestly, my favorite entrance is probably Triple H's entrance.
Which one?
his standard one where he does the whole water bottle at the ramp and then walks down, climbs up on the apron, takes the swig, spit giant fucking water spit at the top with the extra. You got to have the extra water spit at the end too, otherwise it doesn't work. So I think the Triple H probably my favorite entrance on a regular basis. I would think.
Music is easy for me. It's either Perfection or Pomp and Circumstance.
See, I thought about Pomp and Circumstance, but I especially like that specific version of it. You got to go with Steve Austin though, don't you? Let people know you're there right away.
That's a top 5 for me.
Yeah,
that's a top 5. The thing about a good wrestling entrance is you got to hook somebody within, like that first note has to be something iconic, right? Like what's that dude's name? Bobby Roode, right? Like hearing Glorious come out.
Oh wait, actually, I'm changing my answer to that. That's the one. That's the one that I need.
Like that's amazing, right? Like it's glorious, right? So, yeah, like any one of those 3 are pretty amazing to me. As far as entrances go, I mean, I like Shinsuke's entrance, but like I wouldn't want people who are like dormant epileptics to find out that they're epileptic. You know what I mean?
I wondered the same thing whenever his entrance starts. I'm like, man, shouldn't they have like an epilepsy warning before he comes out? Like, this seems like a bad idea.
You start hearing them violins, you better shut your eyes, man. I also like Bray Wyatt's entrance, and I like Bray Wyatt's entrance before the WWE put the fireflies on his little Titantron in the background. Like when it was just organic and people just threw up their cell phone flashes. I thought that was pretty cool. And you can never go wrong with Jericho. Like the entrance and the song is one of the top 5 for me when it comes to like combination of both.
Chris Jericho's ability to constantly iterate himself is really underrated, I think, in wrestling lore. Like the fact that dude's been doing his thing for 25 years and he still came up with one of the best bits of his career like a year ago.
Yeah.
and it was the same thing like when he first came back after that long absence, and like all he added was that light up jacket.
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit, like that's awesome. That's a wrinkle I didn't even know I needed to the Jericho entrance. But there it is.
Jay says, is Jay the black version of Niles?
No, Jay is not the black version of Niles. I actually liken Jay more to Frazier than Niles, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Jay is the type that thinks he's the smartest guy in the room all the time, and he has all the answers all the time. He's not Jay. You're not neurotic like Niles is.
No, you're quite the opposite. Like you are a hot-tempered know-it-all lunatic. You're a blowhard is what he is.
Right. And Frazier, like both guys are exceptionally bougie, but Frazier takes steps to be outwardly bougie.
Yeah.
Like he wants everyone to know his level of bougination, and I feel like that Jay is the same way in that regard.
You have no idea.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, well, yeah, you've been to his house.
I'm gonna say I've known the man now for 5 years, 6 years now. So
yeah. He's got a book on beer. Like, all right, dude. All right, get out of here with your gluten allergy that you've never had before, but all of a sudden you have it. Get out of here. Chris says, in your opinion, what's the worst movie that the majority of people love? Man, who loves bad movies?
there's a few that come to mind. Drive, I think, is relentlessly overrated. I hate that movie.
I remember liking it. I guess that proves your point.
There you go.
I don't know what the worst movie that the majority of people love. I mean, a lot of people like them Transformers movies. Maybe not this last one, but those things constantly made money. Although they made their money overseas, so I guess that doesn't really count. Yeah, I don't know who. I try not to associate myself with people who like bad movies. That's my cop-out answer, and I'm going to stick to it. Anthony says, fan cast a modern-day Street Fighter movie.
Wish I'd seen this one before.
Chun-Li is Ming-Na Wen.
Still?
Because of course she is.
Still?
Yup.
Okay.
Absolutely. She can still do it. Gal is John Cena.
That's an easy one. That's a super easy one.
Let's get the easy ones out the way. I liken Ken to be either Dolph Ziggler. I always thought Dolph Ziggler is like a perfect Ken Masters, right? But if you want like a real actor, maybe like a Bradley Cooper type.
Yeah, I could see that. That would work, actually. That would work out really well. See, Ryu's tough.
Ryu's tough because I'm trying to find a Japanese guy, and I'm sorry, I'm just gonna have an Asian guy. I love Daniel Dae Kim, and I think Daniel Dae Kim is badass enough, right? From his performance as Johnny Gat. I think he's a good looking dude, right? So you can get the fucking hot Ryu thing going. And the guy's a decent actor. I like Daniel Dae Kim for Ryu. Honda is tough, but you don't
need to have Honda in this Street Fighter movie. So you don't that's the thing. You don't need to get every single character.
Well, I was thinking the original 8.
Okay. How about
Street Fighter 2?
Well, how about like you had that M. Bison, right?
And that's the thing, man. I want you to use stock footage of Raul Julia. That's what I want you to do.
You can't think of an actor that would do a good job playing that role like legit instead of like hamming it up.
You know who I always thought would be a good Bison? Sid Vicious, the wrestler. Like he always scared me, man. Like he always scared me. I don't know what it was.
I think you could get like a Josh Brolin to be a half decent M. Bison. He can be pretty serious and fierce dude.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. He's his Cable pictures came out today.
Yeah.
If he can be Cable, he can do M. Bison. Yeah, I like that idea. Sagat. I mean, who's a tall Asian person?
I don't know. You know who they would have cast to play Sagat if it was 2003?
What was that?
Michael Clark Duncan. They would have just retconned the race. Tell me I'm lying.
Oh God.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm not going to tell you you're wrong.
That's right, because
I can't do it.
Because you can't.
Who's an Indian dude? Dev Patel.
The latest game show on Dead Pixels. Who's
that Indian dude? No, not Dev Patel. Who's either Russell Peters? Is Russell Peters Indian? Or the guy from the Daily Show who was like the Indian correspondent?
Simon Minaj.
There you go. He could be Dawson.
Good Lord.
Um,
This has quickly devolved into racial stereotypes. The movie, which to be fair, would be completely accurate for a Street Fighter film.
That's
To be frank,
I can't think of any other ones.
Yeah, that's one. If I had seen before, we could have prepped, but we did not look.
James says, "How did you all meet, and how did you get into gaming?" We all met through GameStop.
Yes.
And, I got into gaming back in 1985 when my grandmother bought me a Nintendo Entertainment System, much to the chagrin of my parents, and fell in love with it ever since.
Yeah, my dad had an Atari that we used to, and an NES that we used to mess around with, and then I got my own, I think in 89, I want to say, and that was the end of that.
Yeah,
that was it.
Wrote. Daniel says, "Do you think there's an oversaturation of third-party / indie titles in the market?" Yes.
I will check you on that once you're done reading the question.
If so, how could it be regulated better? I might be the minority, but I hate trudging through the crap to find the good indie games I would really like to play.
So Mike, of course, will say there's an oversaturation of indie games in the digital marketplaces. I don't think there's an oversaturation of indie games. I think there's an oversaturation of bad indie games. I think that's your biggest problem. And as far as regulation, Steam is taking steps to regulate it a little bit better. I don't think you need regulation, though. I think what you need is the cream to rise up. And that can only be done by having your gatekeepers like Steam and Sony and Microsoft actually pay attention to the games that are coming through their gates and elevating those games so that they can be seen by more people instead of having them in the same fucking pit as every game that comes out that week. I think that's it's not a problem of regulation, it's a problem of curation is the bigger problem.
I see that, every time I go in the PlayStation store, like if you go in the PlayStation store as of this taping, there was a spotlight on some indie games. Like they're having like indie games coming out all this week and all next week, all this month. I don't know if those games are good. And I was going to ask you, is that
that's a sale. That's a sale. That's not a,
yeah, they're not like, hey, this is rated incredibly well. Like this is just, hey, this is going to be on sale this week. Maybe you should pick
right. That's just, hey, indie spotlight, check out these games. And hey, by the way, there's like, yeah, they're not propping those games up to, I mean, they are propping up to drive sales, but it's done in the form of a sale rather than as a way to actually give those games exposure, basically.
Gotcha. Fabian says, how much longer can Rockstar milk GTA 5?
You know what? Okay, Fabian, I need to put this in perspective for you. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a game that is so beloved that many people bought it twice because they bought it when it came out on PS3 and 360, and then they bought it again on PS4 and Xbox One. Like that game is literally sold. I'm pretty sure at this point it's over. I'm pulling this number out of my ass. Like 80 million copies, which is ridiculous. which puts that only there's only 2 games ever that have sold more than Grand Theft Auto 5, and one of them shouldn't even count because they're counting every iteration of Tetris that's ever come as one game, and that's a load of shit.
That's technicality.
Right, but so GTA 5 is the best-selling game ever made besides Minecraft, essentially. So yes, they'll keep milking it as long as there's milk left in the cow, and judging by the runaway success of GTA 5, there's plenty of milk in the cow left.
I like those games. I do not like them enough to play them online and to keep playing them online, though. Like I'm amazed that they're still coming out with content for
right, and realize too that the vast majority of the money for GTA now, it's not coming from people buying the game, it's coming from digital sales.
Yep.
Like that game is producing all the time. So yeah, they'll keep making GTA as long as there's an audience for GTA, and recent history would suggest there's still a very, 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 very large audience for GTA.
Yep. Cam says, "Fuck Jay, discuss." I'm assuming that's not a command, because if it is, I'm going to do that. But yeah, he's a prick. He's a big prick, metaphorically speaking.
Yes, metaphorically speaking. Make sure we get that in there.
Yeah, he is, as we said, a know-it-all. He's a blowhard. I asked him in a private message. I think he mentioned it on one of the shows, but I asked him in a private message because some stupid ass internet debate was going on. And if one thing Jay loves to do, he loves to talk. And if there's one thing that he loves to do more than talking, it's being right. And I said, well, what do you like? I don't see the point of debate with certain people on certain topics. Isn't the point of debate to try and sway people to your side? And he was like, no. He was like, it's an exchange of ideas. And you know, I said, look, you don't like debate. You like being right. And you like people knowing, you like telling people that you are right. And he was like, yeah. He's a dick. He's a dick. I've known him for years. He's always been like that too. Don't let that high-pitched voice fool you. He's a bit of an ass. Trey says, Night Trap physical version goes on sale this Friday. Also, what do you guys think of folks breaking Limited Run's website to flip all the last releases for cash?
Secondary markets are a tough thing to condemn, I should say, because where do you cast the blame? That's the question. Like if people are purchasing these through legitimate means and a company is making the decision to only make a limited number of something, and people know that it's going to be limited, can you really begrudge someone for wanting to make a quick buck?
Yeah.
I don't blame scalpers for scalping NES classics. I blame Nintendo for not making enough of them. And that's where you got to lay the blame. So if Limited Run says, hey, we're only going to have X number of copies, and they put them up for pre-order, and people know that there's only X number of copies and there will only ever be X number of copies, or at least that's what they think. You're opening the door. You might as well put out a big neon sign that says "Scalpers welcome here. Please come take our things." And that's just the way it is. And it sucks. It sucks for anyone that legitimately just wants to purchase one, right? Like if you couldn't get in and get that pre-order, it really sucks for you that you're either now going to either go without, or you're going to have to pay over market value to get that. And that's unfortunate, but that's the price of like a free market, basically,
Yeah.
So
Jeremy says, Brad, on a scale from the Brooklyn Brawler to The Rock, how excited were you when your kid went to the potty for the first time? JC, my son, went for the first time yesterday. I'll rate myself HBK first title victory level of excitement.
So I can't remember if I feel like I've mentioned this on the show before, but I can't remember if I've talked about it at length or not. My son Xander is he's autistic, so he's 3 years old. And so every day is kind of a new adventure because he obviously is a little bit further behind where a lot of kids would be. So I've not gotten this particular joy yet. I will tell you, the first time that we did buy a trainer toilet for him, the first time we sat him down, he peed in it. And we thought we had like a savant. And we're like, holy shit, like he gets it immediately. And of course, that's the only time that he's ever peed in the training toilet so far. So he's showing the signs that he wants to. Like now, like, and Micah, I don't know if you know all these signs, but like now whenever he poops, he like runs into a corner or hides somewhere to do it because I guess he doesn't want to do it in person, and he's like constantly tugging at his diaper now whenever he does go to the bathroom. So he wants to. The challenge for us though, because he's nonverbal right now still, is figuring out how to teach him how to do that without being able to communicate. So that's where we are right now. But trust me, dude, when that fucking happens, when that eventually does happen, I'm going to be like Mick Foley winning the WWE title level of excitement. Probably that's probably what you'll see from me. So
that'll put butts in the seats.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get his butt in the seat. That's the
key. Gaston says, I don't know if anyone asked, but Brad, what do you think of the Neymar movie?
So do you know about the, not Neymar movie, Neymar move, Neymar transfer? Micah, have you heard about this?
No.
Okay. So Micah, and actually I'll just explain it anyway. So the way that contracts and player movement works in soccer, and holy shit, there's an Amber Alert. That's what that was. Sorry, folks. The way that transfers work in soccer is it's not like American sports where, oh, I have a player and you have a player and we trade those players, or, hey, this player's contract runs out, so he's a free agent, he can sign wherever he wants. They still do have free agents in soccer, but for the big players, that's not usually how they move. What normally how they move is you have a player on a team, and that player is really good. And so a bigger team will come along and says, we would like to have that player. And so what they do is they pay the team who has that player under contract, usually an exorbitant sum of money, to acquire the contract of that player. And then they have to negotiate a new contract with the player as well. It's called a transfer fee. And lately they've been getting kind of ridiculous. So the world record for transfer fee was set last year when a player named Paul Pogba moved from Juventus to Manchester United, and Manchester United paid Juventus £110 million just to be able to talk to the player, if that makes sense.
Yo.
Oh, but hang on, Micah. We're not there yet. So in the Spanish Premier, or in the Spanish top football league, every player is required by law to have what's called a buyout clause or a reserve clause in their contract, which is a amount of money that if a team says, hey, we will pay you this amount of money that's in this contract, then that team has to release that player. Okay. Right. For the top players, it's usually an exorbitant sum of money that no right-thinking team would ever come and encroach. Enter the top team in the French league, Paris Saint-Germain, who is basically owned by the Qatari government, for lack of a better term. And they're like, man, Neymar Jr., he was the top Brazilian player and probably one of the best 3 players in the world right now. And he plays for Barcelona. And they're like, which is one of the top 2 clubs in the world, by the way. And they're like, wow, that Neymar Jr. guy, I think we'd really like to have him for our team. He's 25. His best years are still ahead of him. And he can make us a juggernaut, both in the French league and in the Champions League, where we could be one of the top teams in the world. And Barcelona's like, well, that's cool, bro, but his release clause is 232 million euros, and I seriously doubt that you're going to want to pay that much money. And they're like, no, we're good. We're fine. Here's 232 million euros to acquire this player. And then, oh, by the way, they're paying Neymar an additional 40 million euros a season for 5 years.
God damn.
So it is the most it literally more than doubled the previous record for transfer fee. Is a batshit crazy thing. All of the soccer world is still kind of like floored by it and laid out by it and aghast by it. It's insane. It is insane.
Yo, ain't nobody in the world worth that much money, man.
I agree with you. I agree. I mean, and it's like maybe Messi and Ronaldo in their prime, you can make that argument for. But even then, that's a lot of money. And the problem is that it's so much money that instead of Neymar, you could have spent that same money and gotten like 4 or 5 world-class players to add to your team instead of this one, super guy. It's crazy. It's just an absurd amount of money.
Now, what happens if, God forbid, that guy breaks his leg or something? I
mean, those contracts, the contracts are insured. So like if he breaks his leg, they have an insurance company that would pay his contract that he couldn't afford. But as far as the transfer money, that's in Barcelona's pocket right now, basically. It's an insane amount of money.
Wow. Gaston continues, also Micah and Terrence, how do y'all feel about the fact that the Overwatch League has guaranteed contracts and benefits before the NFL does? good on the Overwatch League. Every week there's a goddamn football story coming out that just really sours me on the game.
I'm first of all, I'm way ahead of you in that department in the first place. But the problem with the NFL is that if their players union had any leverage at all, they could get guaranteed contracts. Mm-hmm. The problem is that when pretty much all of your owners are like, the NFL is their hobby. That's not where the bulk of their money came from.
Right.
That's just their toy that they play with on the side. So if the players were like, you know what, we're going to strike until we get guaranteed contracts, the owners will just sit back and be like, okay, how long can you wait to not get paid? Because I can wait a hell of a lot longer than you can. So it's a problem because the NFL is the only North American sport that doesn't have guaranteed contracts. Like the only, and that's why to compensate for that, players, that's why I never mind holdouts that players do, like with training camps when they're trying to get new contracts. And that's why I also don't mind when players negotiate for super big signing bonuses, because those bonuses are the only guaranteed money that they get. The team could sign them to a 5-year contract, 2 years later say, we don't want this guy anymore, cut him, and they don't owe him a dime, but they do still owe him the full amount of the signing bonus that they agree to.
Yeah, so. This season, I'm just out of it. Like, I think I might join you in watching like football, and not.
Hey, like I said, I was on the anti-NFL bandwagon before it was cool. So
yeah,
never forget that when the NFL doesn't exist in 20 years, because because the top athletes won't want to play it anymore, because they actually want to walk and talk by age 40 still.
Oh God. Brian says, have any of you guys played Warframe? If so, what do you think about it? I think this might be up your alley, Brad, for the Diablo-esque nature of it, as it's very much all about that sweet, sweet loot.
I remember because Terrence talked about this on the show, and I remember being interested in it, but the problem is I don't have time for another lifestyle game to find its way into the mix. I really don't. Like, I'd like to give Warframe some time. I've downloaded it because I planned on checking it out. But when you're playing Diablo and you're playing FIFA and you're playing Destiny, it's just hard to find the hours to dedicate to another game that requires a lot of attention, essentially.
I knew a person who had Destiny and Warframe and preferred Warframe to Destiny. He just liked the way it played. He dug the atmosphere. He got into the lore of it. I never really got into it because I was playing Destiny at the time, but I might look, I'm not even gonna lie and be like, oh, I'll check it out. Like, I probably won't, but hey, if you are enjoying it, that's all that really counts. And maybe it'll be on one of those slow like months when there's nothing and I don't have anything to play. Warframe is one of those free to play games, right? Mm-hmm. I might just download it and give it a shot. See if I can get like a Destiny fix until Destiny 2 comes out. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys for your responses to Question of the Week. That's also the show. So make sure if you're not in our fan group, you're missing out. denpixels.com/fans on Facebook. Make sure you check that out and hop in the conversation. You can also leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. It'd be great if you did. We'll read it on the air. If you have anything to plug, drop it in there. We'll plug it for you. Facebook and Twitter @DensePixels is our handle there. You can also subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play Music, or any other podcatcher that you choose. You can find us just by searching Dense Pixels. And of course, we are all on Twitch TV as well. I am Dense Pixels Brad. Terrence is Apparition 410. Micah is Dense Black Nerd. Carrie is Suffix Carrie. So that's it.
That's it.
That's everything.
Starfire comes out tomorrow.
Oh, that's right, for Mortal Kombat. Yeah. Are you excited? Probably not.
Not really. I don't really give a fuck about Starfire, but look, I'm just reminded of that Starfire story that I can't tell them here. So that's it. See ya.
See ya.